Welcome back, everybody. Once again, this is Marc Lawrence, and we're all set to go against the spread on this weekend before the start of the NCAA basketball tournament. And with that, I want to make an announcement here that we're going to be doing 2 live shows next week. Mark this down on your schedule, if you will. Monday, we'll be doing our Against the Spread podcast, a live podcast on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on our network. Also, Tuesday, the Jim Feist show, where he'll be also digging deep into the NCAA tournament card. That'll be live on Tuesday. So Monday and Tuesday, doubleheader live basketball shows here on the network here. Make sure to mark those down. And speaking of which, Jim Feist will not be joining us today. We'll let Jim go till he does his live podcast on Monday. But we do have resources galore on the show today, starting with Andy Iskoe from Las Vegas from TheLogicalApproach.com. Andy, how are you doing March Madness tournament-wise?
Right now, it appears I'm doing better than Miami of Ohio is, and it wouldn't take – that's a very low bar to set right now because right now and I'm not watching it now live, but they're down by 3 in the final 8 seconds or so to UMass of all teams. And then maybe that line was a little bit suspicious. It actually got bet down, I think, from 7.5 to 6.5, but I'm doing well, but that is certainly a major upset. And as we were talking before we went on live, that could cost Miami, Ohio, an at-large bid, losing in the first round. As I remarked, had they lost, and of course the game's not over, but it's going to be very difficult right now. But had they lost, let's say, in the championship game to Akron, which was almost as good, I think they were 17-1 versus Miami's 18-0. Now, Akron would have gotten the automatic bid, and they could have made a better case for Miami to get that at-large bid because of the weak non-conference strength of schedule.
Well, let me hop over to my odds logic screen here and see if we've got an update, something a little bit more live as we're speaking here. It being an early start like this, it's kind of hard to find them.
Yeah, that game is over.
It is over.
Wow.
Yeah. And did you pronounce them dead? Yes, 87-83. Wow.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I think they're still getting in. I think that it would be such a black eye on the committee if they did not give an opportunity for a team to go undefeated in a decent mid-major during the regular season, especially this season more than ever, because we've talked about it the last few weeks. These are the worst bubble teams we've ever seen. And if you can't put an undefeated regular season mid-major team in now against these bubble teams, what is that saying?
Well, you may never have a chance to do it again. Correct.
Yeah. So and you have to give them credit for what they did too in the last few weeks. Now it could be a negative. Oh, they were in a lot of close games against inferior teams. I look at the opposite way. I look at it as you mentioned this last week, Andy. They were playing at the end of the season in the last few weeks. The teams they were playing, it was like their season,
their game of the year,
their game of the year, and that they were in these close games and they kept finding ways to win. That is not an easy thing to do in any conference.
Yeah, it's to their credit. Yes.
Yes. So they have to be rewarded that way, and I would be really, really shocked, not just disappointed, but shocked if they did not get them in this season.
I would be too. In fact, I would really be remiss not to see them because, as you mentioned, Greg, they are well-deserved to be in the tournament. And it would be a little bit of a major letdown, I think, for basketball fans all across the country to see them be left out here as well. They deserve to be in this NCAA basketball tournament. And don't be surprised if they get in, they even pull an upset in the first round, obviously, depending upon who they draw.
That would not be a surprise. I'm just trying to find a good win on their non-conference schedule.
There isn't any.
Well, Old Dominion at the start of the year, they were a decent team. But I'm trying to say they didn't even really play a lot of good teams.
They're 90. 90 on the this is the rankings here, the Pomeroy rankings, Ken Pom, 90. So that just shows you, again, this is all about scheduling. They just did not play a tough schedule at all, but still you went undefeated.
How many teams below the 90 are there, Greg, that look to be in the tournament that maybe?
Well, High Point's in as a.
Other than automatic qualifiers,
right?
None. Oh, None. You're not getting that. You have to be like, up here, 60, 70 maybe.
At most, yeah.
Yeah.
Because remember, there are, I believe it's 31 at-large, 31 conference champions, and 37 at-large teams.
Let's
So
see.
37 of those, and you got the teams like Long Island who
This
has
might
an
be it right
automatic
here.
bid.
Central Florida, 52. Because they're still, especially because they were able to win that game late.
Yeah, they're a bubble. They're a bubble team right now.
Yeah, I know. I wish they were. A lot of people have them as a lock.
But that's what makes it a hard case for Miami of Ohio if they're 90.
Well, again, absolutely. I still think that they should throw those stats away. If you go undefeated.
What would the dilemma be, guys, if Akron loses in the title game in the MAC tournament and they do not get into this tournament? Now, does Miami's case dissipate as well? Or do they put Miami in ahead of Akron? Miami bounces in the first round, and Akron makes it to the championship game.
You mean the automatic qualifier, whoever wins, I don't know, let's say it's Toledo or something like that, they would get the automatic bid, and that might be enough because Toledo probably doesn't rank very high either.
So they would take just one team from the MAC and leave both Akron and Miami
qualifier.
out? So,
I think the one where we might see a mid-major, we could see both VCU and St. Louis get in from the Atlantic 10, especially if they meet in the championship game.
I think my point being this, that Miami's hopes rest a lot on Akron and what Akron does.
Yeah.
To go in as a tag team member with them. But if Akron doesn't make cut the nets in their tournament, I think Miami stays home as well.
I would say Miami right now is in the same situation as, for example, as Santa Clara.
Yes.
Yeah, It would definitely be better for Miami if Akron won, just because of the fact that would be a win from Miami beating Akron.
Yes.
So that gives nobody wants to say, oh, they beat Toledo. Who cares? But by beating Akron, at least with Akron getting in, they're going to be rooting for Akron for sure to win the championship. Yeah. So,
well, Andy, you mentioned Santa Clara, and let's do a little bit this week what we did last week, because we're right up against it with the game starting next week, and we talked about the last 4 bye teams. Or those are the teams that are the safest on the bubble that would avoid those first 4 play-in games. Right now, and they're arguable because it's just like beauty. Everybody has a different interpretation of it. But right now, from one of the major sites I looked at, showed NC State, Central Florida, Santa Clara, and Missouri. You mentioned Santa Clara, and did you feel that they're still safe on these last 4 bye teams?
I think they are because – well, again, it comes down to St. Mary's and Santa Clara. And, of course, Santa Clara just beat St. Mary's head-to-head in the tournament after they split their regular season series. However, St. Mary's at the end of the year defeated Gonzaga, whereas Santa Clara went 1-1 against Gonzaga. So the thought is obviously Gonzaga's in. The question is, do they take St. Mary's or do they take Santa Clara? Now, Santa Clara was 2-1 against St. Mary's, but 0-2 against Gonzaga, and St. Mary's was 1-1 against Gonzaga. And so I think the committee might take a look at, and maybe Miami complicates things because maybe the committee would say, well, we'd like to get Miami in there because of the season, but it's kind of hard to justify it. But it may also be just as hard to justify 3 teams from the West Coast. And so if they left out Santa Clara, I suppose they could choose Santa Clara over St. Mary's. I don't think, because I think St. Mary's has the better resume. But you could possibly see them taking. Let's, for argument's sake, say that that St. Mary's is in. They could bypass Santa Clara to take Miami, and that would create a bit of a debate as far as Santa Clara versus Miami. Again, taking a look at the non-conference schedule, I don't have Santa Clara's in front of me right now.
They didn't beat anybody.
Okay, I think other than Gonzaga.
No, other than St. Mary's twice. They didn't beat Gonzaga.
Oh, I'm sorry, other than St. Mary's twice. Yeah, I thought you were about St. Mary's.
So isn't that clear cut then, Andy? Santa Clara and St. Mary's out. I don't know.
No. I think 3 teams are in. I think Santa Clara's win over St. Mary's, I think it locked them in. I don't think they have anything to worry about.
Who would you choose? Okay, let's assume that St. Mary's is in, okay, with Gonzaga. Who would you choose, Greg, next? St. Mary's and Gonzaga. Who would you choose next between Santa Clara and Miami?
Miami.
Okay.
And I would also choose Santa Clara and Miami over SMU. SMU should not be in.
Yeah.
And they're
how about Texas?
Texas, I should not be in. I would not.
I would agree.
I'm not putting these teams in that can't win games on the bubble that they're supposed to win. If you can't, this is your shot. Prove it to us.
What were they, 0-9 on Saturday? Those bubble teams? That's not really playing well when you're basically your season is on the line for
that proves our point about how bad these bubble teams are.
Exactly.
That's why teams like Miami deserve to get in. Santa Clara deserve to get in because these bubble teams this year are terrible. So let these other major teams in.
The committee looks at the quad one wins. They should also look at the quad one losses because these mid majors rarely get a chance to be scheduled against a quad one caliber team. As far as entering the season, what the prospects are. So if you're like I don't know, Kentucky is something like 6-11 against quad one teams, and of course those quad one teams, those 17 games are probably all against SEC opponents.
Yes, they probably are, right?
Yeah, so it's like, you put any of these teams we just talked about, Miami, Santa Clara, you put them in these major conferences, and they're going to win a game or two as well. They might go 2-10, but they'll also win a game or two. So
look at Purdue, 5-6, 4-6 Alabama, 2-7 is the one Arkansas. Okay, so those 2-7, I don't know who the two wins were over, but the
2-6.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State's not even getting in. Let's see who else is getting
in. Well, Arizona State,
Ohio State, 3-10.
There you go.
And they're playing Iowa right now, and
Iowa's 1-8,
and they're considered and they're both that's 1-8. Again, that's the quadrant plus.
That's the quad one. Oh, okay.
This is quad one right here,
ones, yeah.
And the super quad, whatever that stupid thing is. So anyway, Iowa and Ohio State, that really should be a bubble game, but I get the feeling that both teams are in.
Well, look at Iowa, 1-8 in the super quads, 4-8 against the regular quads.
And Ohio State's 1-9 against the super quads, and they're both probably
at 3-10. Well, 3-10 overall against quad ones. So they're in. But what is the highest ranked?
At least Santa Clara's got 1 win out of 4, so that's right there with Ohio State and Iowa. Matter of fact, that's better.
Well,
that's a better winning percentage.
Let's go up that list a little bit to find the first mid-major. Where does the highest ranked mid-major team show up, beginning with number 1?
Besides Gonzaga?
Yeah, aside from Gonzaga.
Let's see. St. Mary's is 36.
I'm just thinking if there's anybody up above that. Utah State. So. Well, Utah State is 25. Yeah.
And they're 3-4 against quad ones. Which is solid.
Go up to number 1 just in case there's some. Where did Michigan, Houston, Florida, Connecticut, Alabama, Virginia, nobody there.
No.
Kansas State, Purdue, BYU, St. John's, Illinois, Arkansas, Texas Tech, Louisville. It looks like Utah State at number 25.
And that's why they're a lock. They're going to get in. Even if they lose, even if they get swept by UNLV today, I think they're going to get in.
Well, 3-4 against quad one teams is decent. I don't know how many teams in the Mountain West, if any, are quad one teams. So you're basically, I would imagine the Utah State must have some games against power conference teams. Then you got SMU down at 45.
Yeah, Boise just blew it.
Yeah.
Losing to one of the worst teams in the conference.
Well, that's like Miami losing to UMass.
Isn't that Frank Martin's team? UMass.
UMass. He's with that team.
I believe so.
So what? So matter of fact, Ken Thompson. We were going over this yesterday. I was filling in for Jim yesterday. Ken was my guest, and he brought that up. He said, keep an eye on taking UMass. Because if UMass upsets Miami, because they were a big number, they were like 40-1 to win the tournament. And if they were to beat Miami, then they could obviously beat anybody. And that is in that conference. And that is Frank Martin coach team.
Yeah, and he was 47-47 in his first 3 years at UMass. So he's done a fine job turning that program around. Yeah, I mean, they didn't have a great record. Obviously, it's a number 8 seed, but they were competitive in quite a number of games that went down, 3 to 5 point losses.
New Mexico, a couple of bubble teams. New Mexico already beat VCU. So keep that in mind. That is definitely something that I think should matter. Unfortunately, you know what? It doesn't, because I've seen many times before. Matter of fact, this happened to Rutgers a few years back when they were a bubble team and didn't get in, they swept Penn State, and Penn State got in. They didn't. They swept them.
Wow.
And it was still Penn State over Rutgers in the tournament. So every year they always come up with their own. We all know this. They always come up with their own criteria to fit.
Which is why the interview with the commissioner of the selection committee is the best piece of comedy I see all year.
Yeah. And we saw it with football, which was a joke. They got to stop doing those. Makes them look really stupid.
Well, the one in football is ridiculous because you have Miami and Notre Dame switch. Neither of them played, and they were both in the week before the one prior to the conference championship games.
South Florida looks like that's another interesting one because South Florida is a bubble team, and they have definitely been the best team all season in the American, and they might have to win. They do have 2 quad 1 wins though. They're 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So I hope they get in. I put them right there with Miami as a team that's a mid-major that deserves to be in. They've won their conference tournament, and it shouldn't matter if they lose one game as long as they go to the championship game. I'm not going to give them excuses if they lose before that, but if they get to the championship game, I think they deserve an at-large.
Yeah, I mean they win their conference to make it to the championship game with what would then be 24 or 25 wins. I think certainly they should be in.
Yeah, 24. They've won 9 in a row.
They're a good team.
They're playing their best. Well, let me just see who they played earlier in the year.
They might have a decent win in there.
Western Kentucky's a decent team, but at Alabama they
beat Utah State.
Yeah, they lost at Alabama by 11, which, considering how Alabama plays, that's not an embarrassing loss by any means.
No, and beating Utah State's a good win for them.
Yeah,
but this is what we're talking about right here. Auburn. I mean, look at this: 2-8 and 4-12, and there's almost 6.
And they have a quad 3 loss.
Yeah, Auburn's the team I scratch my head about in the Southeast Conference. What's the love with Auburn this basketball season here?
Or Texas, for that matter. Yeah. Both of these teams in the SEC.
Yeah. The Texas, another one with a quad 3 loss. If you are in a major conference and you have lost to a quad 3 or quad 4 team, that should, not automatically, but you certainly have to defend including a team like that. Because much as you talk about quad 1 wins for these mid-majors who don't get to play many of them, you got to take a look at quad 3 and quad 4 losses for major conference teams who don't schedule that many 3 and 4 quad 3 and quad 4 teams, other than those possibly within their own conference.
You can go back even a few years, when they would select these teams. Here's Auburn 17 and 15. They would not even been considered then. Back in the day, you had to almost be a 20-win team to be considered.
Oh yeah, 20 wins mean nothing now because of the long season. But and I think I may have mentioned it last week or the week before. What's happened is that conferences used to be 8, 10, 12 teams. Okay, so there was more at-large bids to be spread around the mid-majors. Back in those days, Mark and Greg, you probably remember, if you didn't have at least a 500 record in your conference, forget about it. Okay. Well, now these major conferences are 12, 14, 16, 18 teams. So that's basically almost doubling in size. So more of the bids that used to go to mid-majors are now going to the, if the SEC used to have, let's say when they were 12 teams, let's say they had 7 teams with winning records. Well, now they've got 10 teams with winning records because there are, 8 or 9 more teams, 4 or 5 more teams in the conference now. And so those teams that normally would have had 500 or lower records, because there are more teams in the conference, now have winning records so the committee can justify it. It's all about money. It always has been. It's always about getting the marquee programs in there. And it's almost like, and I hate to say it because I love the tournament the way it is, but it's almost like, why not have a tournament for the mid-majors, and why not have do what the committee would like to do and have only power conference teams in their tournament?
Well, right now there's 9 teams in the Southeast Conference with 20 wins, and they all look to be pretty safe in my eyes.
Texas is not one of them, though. Correct?
No, they are not. They're sitting there right now with looks to be 18 wins on this losing streak. So the question to you guys is, if there's a 10th team that wins 20 games and it comes out of the Southeast Conference we're talking about, that 10th possible team could be running the table here in the tournament: Texas, Oklahoma, or Auburn. I would think right now, Oklahoma probably looks the best of the three, personally.
Well, Texas is out. So
Yes.
Oklahoma's got Texas A&M today, I believe, which is another maybe must-win type of scenario for Texas A&M. I know some people believe they're in. Some people have them on the bubble. But that's a big game right there. You want to prove that you deserve to be in, beat Oklahoma. Because if they beat Oklahoma, they would definitely be in. But if they lose to them, then it's up to chance. And I'm not going to cry for them. Keep in mind, SMU started the season 12-2. That means they ended the season 8-11 in their last.
Most of that
games.
12-2 start were against probably quad 3 and quad 4 teams,
and yet
non-conference.
They're in the tournament. So yeah, and like you said, Mark, there's a lot of teams in Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma, though, they have a lot more work to do. They would have to win at least 2 more games.
I'll tell you a team that
Texas A&M.
I'll tell you a team keep an eye on, because we saw it last night. Who did Texas lose to? Chris Beard.
Yeah, well-coached team for sure.
Yeah, Georgia's is, and the thing with Georgia is at least Georgia's in, and they've proven it. They've had a good run at the end of the season. They've done something most of these bubble teams haven't done lately, and that's win. So Georgia's definitely in, even if they lose the game to Ole Miss.
Yeah,
so
22 wins, yeah, right, for sure they're in, yes.
I would like to see any team in the Power Conference have at least 2 wins against Quad 1 teams. Of course, they're mostly playing in the Power Conference, is mostly playing Quad 1 teams in conference play. You know, the top 2/3 of the conference is probably a Quad 1 team.
Well, I think that they impose that restriction, Andy, they might end up not having enough teams. I don't think they want to put themselves in that position, but I agree with you.
You can't have that. You cannot have that restriction for mid-major teams, because mid-major teams just can't schedule all the Quad 1 teams that the SEC and the Big 10 and the Big 12 can. So I think there should be some restriction or requirement that these teams that play 16 games against Quad 1 or even the Super Quad 1 teams, 10 games against them, should have a certain maybe a 500 record is a little bit too restrictive, but maybe you want to show at least 3 or 4 wins against the teams that you're going to likely have to beat. Remember, the teams that are likely to make the Final Four or expected to be the Final Four are generally Quad 1 plus teams.
Let me ask you guys this question. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, and I could be. In the collapse of the mid-majors in the tournament last year, I believe it was only McNeese State that won the first round. I think everybody else. Drake?
Yeah.
Okay. Did they win last year?
Yeah.
I think McNeese was the 12-5 upset. I'm not sure what Drake was.
Yeah, Drake and McNeese, I think they might have been the only 2 that won from mid-majors last year.
Was Colorado State a mid-major?
Oh, that's right. That's a tricky one. They win? They did win.
Well, if you say
they were a 10,
then you have to put teams from the Big East in. Would you put the Big East in as a mid-major?
No, I wouldn't.
No.
I think Mountain West has to be. They're like Power 4. Yeah, they're between mid-major and Power 4. I don't even know if you want to call it Power 4. If they're they're not a mid-major. I don't think so.
So if they were a boxer, they'd be a middleweight, is what they'd be. Right?
Yeah, pretty much. And that conference is still wide open, by the way.
Yeah, when I take a look at some of the apps that I have that cover these things, normally they call the power majors are. Let me see here if I could find it here. Okay. Well, they're not showing it to me right now, but let me see here. Just a minute here.
And then you've got, by the way, there's no championship games tonight. There's no championship games tomorrow.
Right.
So you've got 11 on Saturday and 5 on Sunday. And, I understand why they do these games on Sunday, but I mean, they've talked about some of these issues that they have with final rankings and things of that nature, seedings, because the games are so close to the final selections. I wouldn't mind if they just figured, I mean, with not having Thursday and Friday, why don't you just push up a couple of these others to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and make it a selection Sunday at 12 or 1 o'clock. And then you could have 5 straight hours on Monday, and everybody, instead of you do it at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and people got to work the next day, it's time for everybody to go.
Yeah.
I mean, just give you a whole day worth of selection Sunday.
Either that, or if you do want to have championship games, let it be in the one bid conferences like the Ivy, like the MEAC, like the Southland, or conferences like that.
Sure,
so that if people want to watch some games, and it won't affect what the committee does, because those games will be over on Saturday. Like, what did I think? 12 bids on Saturday. Here are the teams that are considered, at least by most sites, as the major conferences: the American Athletic, the Atlantic 10, the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, Big East, and SEC.
They have the American,
the AAC,
over the Mountain West.
Yes,
that's ridiculous.
Well, again, if you base it on this year, perhaps it is. But the American,
no, but even the last few years, the Mountain West has gotten like 3 teams in, 4 teams in.
Yeah, but
back the last 3 or 4 years.
But take a look at the record. I mean, I know someone who automatically every year plays the total number of wins for Mountain West Conference teams under. And I think about the only time they've lost is the year that San Diego State made that run to the final.
Yeah, I mean, but look at I don't even care about the bids. Just look at these. Come on, look at the teams. You're trying to tell me that the American teams are better than the Mountain West, the top 5 or 6?
Maybe not
those
this
teams.
Year. Well,
but even if Memphis was good, I mean, who Wichita State hasn't been good in 5 years.
Well, they've been okay. They've been decent. They've been to the tournament, I think, once there. Tulsa's always had a good program.
And the bottom of that conference is terrible.
I think the only team worth the salt in that conference is South Florida.
This year,
yeah.
I mean, UAB, South Florida, Memphis, Wichita State.
Yeah.
That's it. Those are the only 4 teams that I'd say, okay.
Yeah, but take a look at the Big East this year. You got St. John's, UConn, Villanova.
Oh, that's true.
Then who do you have?
But normally, we'll give them a break.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, I'm saying that's the Big East is long and established. Yeah.
I don't care about this year because the Mountain West isn't very good this year either.
Yeah.
I think it's just I'm not saying they're better than the American. I'm just saying you can't tell me the American's better than the Mountain West. They're even.
I'm not. That's not my opinion. It's just the way.
I know. I'm telling you, this thing is. I don't know. That's crazy. Whoever comes up. Well,
the American Conference also has a lot of personnel, team affiliation changes over the years. Mountain West has been pretty stable. Now that'll change next year when a number of teams from the Mountain West are going to what will be the reconstituted Pac-12, along with Gonzaga in basketball. So we'll see.
We'll
that's been another situation where so many conferences are changing. I remember, what did they have? The Great Midwest Conference for a number of years back, which I think became Conference USA or something back in the 1980s or 90s. But the point is that the number of bid that mid-majors have gotten in the last 5 to 8 years is probably about a third of what they used to get, say, before the major conference expansion started around 2012, 2013 in both football and basketball.
Let's do this, guys. Let's go around the major conferences. We'll throw the Big East in and call them 5 major conferences, if you will. And between us, let's pick who we think will win it and who they will beat in those conferences.
Right.
Andy, we'll start with you, and we'll do it alphabetically with the ACC. Who do you have winning the ACC, and who do they take down?
Well, if it's the ACC and Duke is motivated, I have to believe that Duke will win the conference if they want to. I've always been, I don't have the bracket in front of me for that conference, so I don't know what the other side of the bracket is. Carolina is the number 4 seed, so that would probably be a Duke-Carolina final, and I think Carolina plays, or the number 3 seed in that conference. I'm not sure who that one is, because I know Virginia is number 2. So, Virginia, I guess they could meet in the conference final. So why not a Duke-Virginia rematch?
Duke and Virginia. Greg, what do you see out of the ACC coming this year?
By the way, if there's a long slide or a sleeper, how about Florida State?
Well, I already put money on Florida State at 150 to 1 to win the conference tournament 2 days ago, and I actually love them tonight against Duke. I'm not sure if they'll pull off the upset, but 16 points, no way. Duke's
You love them to the number, not to beat them, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but I did put the money on them to win the conference at that big number because they have to just win one game. So if they can beat Duke, if they can pull it out, then they can win the championship. Because no other team, if they can beat Duke, no other team in this conference is going to be.
The only concern would be, could it be a letdown in their next game?
Well, they can't. They have a letdown. They're out.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. But I mean, can they have? But it's
you better not have a letdown. You have a letdown, guys. You're going home.
Well, they understand that, but that doesn't mean that they can avoid a letdown.
I think it's regular season, but in the postseason, I'd be surprised.
You would like to think so, but we have.
We'll worry about that We'll worry about that tomorrow if they beat Duke. I don't think that's
on Saturday. Well, no, I guess it would be tomorrow, right?
Yeah. So I'm not worried. Yeah. But and again, the whole reason is Duke is without two of their top 5 scorers. Duke is not a 7D double-digit team. They've got 5 guys that I think that average 6 points a game. 5.
What's the status of those 2 players, Greg? Will they
out?
Be out for the rest of the year?
Out for the tournament.
Get out of here.
Back for the final for the NCAA, but they're not playing any ACCs. So they're missing 2 of their top 5 players. And Florida State lost to Duke at home by 3 points, I think, 4 points in early January. And Florida State's playing their best basketball of the year. So I think this is going to be a real close game tonight. So that would be up my obvious sleeper. I agree with Andy on that one. You know what the problem is that the rest of these teams, I mean, I don't even know if you can qualify all these other teams as anything but contenders because they're all kind of the same. Louisville's without Mikal Brown. He's their best player. He's not going to be in the tournament. Yeah, Clemson, North Carolina, Virginia. I mean, all these teams are the same. I mean, there's nobody's better than the other. So that's why I'd rather just pick a long shot like Florida State because I think Florida State is just as good as any of these teams except Duke.
So you've got Duke and Florida State playing for the ACC title?
No, they're playing tonight.
No.
Fortunately or fortunately, they're playing tonight. Yeah.
So the winner of this game is who you're going to have cutting.
There you go. I'll say that. Yes, okay. The winner of this game will.
Yeah, we can use that Cliff Notes version. Good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cast a vote for North Carolina to play in the championship game against Duke. If for no other reason they recruit, or I should say now today they buy players as well any other teams do. But, you know, people are poo-pooing this basketball team. And you go back and you look, I think they've won, correct me if I'm wrong here, Andy, like 11 of the last 13 games. They're not playing bad basketball at all. And it's
they're without their best player. And I think that's the reason why they're being poo-pooed.
Yeah. Well, but they've been winning without him.
Yes.
He's been, 6-7 games now?
Yeah. I look, I agree, but I don't know. To win a tournament without your best player, it's a good call because they're not a favorite. They probably 10, 12-1 to win the tournament, something like that. I think Virginia's the second choice at 8-1.
Where does Ken Palm rank them? Do you have that there, Greg? Can you bring that up for North Carolina?
North Carolina?
Yeah.
31.
31. Okay. So
they would have been a dangerous tournament team, but without Caleb Wilson, they're not going to go very far. It's like Texas Tech, and Texas Tech's even better than North Carolina without their top player.
Well, they've been playing longer with
Carolina's 7-3 in their last 10.
7-3.
Yeah, and of those 7 wins, well, they lost to Duke. The wins were against Clemson, Virginia Tech, Louisville, Syracuse. Lost at NC State. That was, I think, the first game without Wilson. They got blown out. They won against Pitt, and the previous loss was to Miami. That followed right after their upset win over Duke.
Again, it's as good as a pick as any of them. They're all. I mean, I think the bracket. Look, I think they do play Duke after. If they both win, let me see here. Yes, Duke and North Carolina play tomorrow if they both win.
1 versus 4, the semifinals,
So,
all right, guys, let's get it over to the Big Ten. Who do we have playing in the championship game, and who ends up not cutting down the nets and being disappointed in the Big Ten? Overloaded conference. Andy?
Oh, okay. I want to take a look at the bracket here. Michigan is number 1. They would face
Ohio State's winning easy right now. So
Yeah.
Michigan, Ohio State next.
Yeah, the semifinals, if things go according to form, it would be Michigan, Illinois for one semifinal, and Nebraska, Michigan State in the second semifinal. So I would have to say Michigan.
You also have Purdue in there.
I don't like Purdue. I could see them losing.
No, they certainly aren't playing good. That's for sure.
I wouldn't. I don't know that they could beat Purdue, that Northwestern could beat them, but Northwestern can give them a game. I will go with Michigan against Michigan State, the number 1 seed facing the number 3 seed. So I would look at that. And if I had a sleeper in there, I'll go Michigan over Michigan State. And if I had a sleeper there, Wisconsin.
Yeah, the Badgers are playing really good ball right now. They've got the Michigan win. They're definitely a Final Four sleeper. No question about it. I can't wait to see where their region is. So, yeah, 100%. They're going to be a good team to keep an eye on, to pull off some upsets along the way. That'll be a good game against Illinois tomorrow. That'll be a real good matchup. I think if I had a sleeper, it'd probably be UCLA and Wisconsin, like you said. So maybe one on each side. But I see where you're going at with Michigan State, because Michigan State sure looks like they're playing as good as they played all season. I just don't think Michigan's a bad pick at almost even. See, Duke is like 3-1 to win their conference. I mean, minus 300 to win their conference.
Yeah.
Michigan's like minus 120. So it's like, I think Michigan's actually not a bad play if you want to take them to win the conference championship.
My thought is that I think the thought there is that Duke is so much far and away better than the other teams in the ACC.
Oh, I don't blame them.
Yeah,
I don't blame them
as opposed to the Big Ten,
sure.
Because Big Ten, where Michigan. Even if you say Michigan and Duke are even, it's the drop off to the number 2, 3, 4 teams in the conference that I think give Duke the greater edge as far as making it to the conference title than Michigan. There are more teams that can upset Michigan than that can.
I'm going Michigan State. I think Michigan's going to be very, very difficult to beat. Personally, they're going to be a number 1 seed, obviously, in the Big Dance, and I think they rule the Big Ten this year. That's my own personal opinion. There are some sleeper teams I'd like to make cases for, like Nebraska, but I was a little bit disappointed in a study that I did, tearing apart these Ken Palm numbers, and I seem to be attracted to them like like I'm in a cheap whorehouse or something, and all of a sudden Ken Palm keeps popping up and popping up and popping up. One interesting thing that I did find, and this is kind of amazing, I've been talking about how teams doing is efficiency rankings. And the simplest form, which I found, was anybody who's ranked in the top 25 in Ken Palm's defensive efficiency rankings. Every one of those teams from that list has won the tournament every year since 2002. Every team has. So what you need to do
you're saying in the current Ken Palm top 25 defensive efficiency that every team that has won a tournament has been is in that top 25 right now?
It's on that list, exactly.
Right
now, here's the caveat. The caveat is it has to be in his final rankings. Okay, it's after the conference tournaments are finished. Those are the ones that are going to count, the ones that they take into the March Madness. But what's amazing here is,
by the way, excuse me, I would imagine that of the 25, the top 20 probably won't fall out with just 1 or 2 games remaining of the defensive efficiency. These efficiency numbers have accumulated so many opportunities over the course of the season that I can't see probably if even 5 would drop out right now.
Well, you mentioned that, Andy, the bottom 5 teams, surprisingly, Florida is 21st. That's a real surprise.
Yeah.
San Diego State, 22, Michigan State, 23, Mississippi State, come on, man. Yeah. And Texas A&M round out the bottom 5 in his numbers here. But I find it a little bit surprising. You guys correct me if I'm wrong.
By the way, have you done a similar comparison for top 25 offensive efficiency?
No, I didn't, because the winner has won every year since 2002. He's only been
Right.
doing his numbers since 2002. So
Right.
throughout the history of the Ken Palm numbers, this is what the numbers happen to be. The ones that lag are the ones that tear this down are teams with a lower offensive efficiency. But teams like Michigan, you're going to find them in the top 5 in offensive efficiency. But I'm a little bit surprised to find some of these teams inside this top 25 list. Some of the teams I'm a little bit surprised about is where is Virginia? They're not there. Where is Nebraska? They're not there.
St. John's.
St. John's? They're not there. Arkansas is not there. Even North Carolina is not there. So what do these teams have to do to crack this list? Nebraska, Virginia, St. John, Arkansas, maybe even North Carolina.
They got to throw a shutout.
one of them might have to throw a no-hitter.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly right. But a little bit head scratching to surprise, not to find St. John's in that list. Even Virginia's played some pretty good basketball, and Nebraska's got won a lot of people over this year, but they're nowhere to be seen here as well. So keep that list in mind there. Duke number 1, Arizona 2, Houston 3, and Tennessee number 4.
Where's Michigan on that list?
Number 6.
Number 6. Okay.
Michigan's number 6. In fact, I'll round out the top 10. Number 5 is Iowa State. Number 6 is Michigan. 7 is Auburn. 8, Texas Tech. 9, UConn, and 10, Purdue, who is fastly sinking. I don't think they'll be in the top 10 by the end of the season, or by the time the tournament gets there, unless they do something in this tournament that they haven't done most of the year, and that's play well.
Is this the one here you're talking about, adjusted defensive efficiency?
Who do you show number 10 on that list there?
Gonzaga on the adjusted.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Is that the right list?
No, the list I got was I updated this morning.
So this is it though. Ken Palm defense.
Ken Palm adjusted defensive efficiencies. Defensive efficiency.
Adjusted, yeah.
Adjusted, right.
Adjusted, yeah. So this is it. Yeah. Where is Gonzaga on yours?
Gonzaga on the one that I
strength of
have.
schedule. Yeah.
Gonzaga is number 11.
Oh, so it's probably maybe because this is 10 here. So they've got 93.9 for their ratings for Gonzaga.
I have a question for both of you. Let's assume Duke, Michigan, Arizona, Florida are the 4 number 1 seeds. Question number 1. There's going to be a proposition up there of will the tournament be won by one of the teams seeded number 1? So you've got those 4 teams against the field. A, what would you price that proposition at? And B, what side would you bet of that proposition?
Who are the 4 teams, Andy? Duke, Arizona, Michigan,
and Florida.
Florida, okay.
Number 1 seeds.
So what's the question?
So another, based upon what we saw last year, I would not expect 4 number 1 seeds to make the Final Four. Okay, but of those 4 teams that are seeded number 1 at the start of the tournament, I'm going to say the over/under. With the lack of parity we saw last year, maybe I was going to say 2.5. They might even put it up at 3.5, meaning that you think all 4. If you play the over, you think all 4 number 1 seeds are going to win. As far as
you mean when you say make it to the Final Four?
No, win the tournament.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah. In other words, what would you price that the tournament winner comes out of the 4 number 1 seeds, and what would you price? Your choice is the 4 number 1 seeds or the field. Okay, what would you price the prop at, and what side would you take on that? Because I think the number 1, if you took the tournament, is going to be won by one of the number 4 seeds. You got 4 teams against 64. Okay,
I put it at minus like 400.
I don't know that
I'd be all over
high.
that. I'd be all over that.
Yeah.
After what we saw last year and after what we've seen this season, one of those 4 teams is winning the national championship.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I didn't know that I don't know that I would make it that high.
I hope they don't, because I'd like to place a bet on it. Yeah, if they could get anywhere near like minus 150 or something like that, I'd be all over it.
I was going to say minus 180.
Okay, I think that's a bet. Take that. Oh. I could take all 4 number 1 seeds at minus 180. I'll take it.
Because number 1,
Mark? You agree? Disagree, Mark?
I'm doing a little study here while we're talking here, guys. That's why I kind of checked out a little bit
Yeah.
here. And what I'm finding and what I'm looking for is how many times all 4 number 1 seeds have made the Final Four.
Twice. Last
Twice?
year, and I think 2007 or 2008 were the only times all 4 number 1 seeds. But remember, the one that last year, we're playing an entirely different landscape in college basketball right now than we did 20 years ago.
That's right.
Yeah, you're right. Auburn, Duke, Florida, and Houston. And then in 2008, Kansas, Memphis, North Carolina, and UCLA. Only 2 times.
Yeah, out of the let's see, 36, 48, I believe, seasons, 36 have either been 1 or 2 teams.
Yeah,
that's the norm, and that made sense until last year. And now
that's why I might put over 2. I make over 2.5, meaning at least 3 of the 4 teams will make it over 2.5, and I'd probably make that a decent sized favorite. The over.
And we'll talk about a lot of this stuff on Monday too. Some of these historical trends. Don't forget to tune in at 8:00 on Monday Eastern time. The last time a 4 seed or lower won the national championship, meaning 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The last time a 4 seed that was Arizona in 1997.
Okay.
As a 4 seed. So as much as we love Cinderellas, if you're not a 4 seed or 3 or 2 or 1, you don't win the tournament.
Yeah.
So that's something to also keep in mind.
What was
Final
UConn?
Fours, not bad.
Well, what was UConn the year that I think it was when they won it, when they ran through the Big East tournament or something, they weren't having a great season compared to their standards.
Yeah, that UConn, that was the team that bucked your trends, Mark, wasn't it?
I think it was. UConn, the first trend was using the top 20, okay? And UConn was the one that bucked that, okay? Using the formula we have in our playbook, March Madness guide.
What was their seed that year? Do you recall?
I
don't know if they were top 4, Andy.
Well, they'd have to be if it was what year was it?
I know they ran the table in the Big East tournament. They won that, and they continued that impetus all the way through.
Yeah, I don't remember if they won that year or just made the Final Four.
Do you remember what year it was?
I want to say somewhere between 2014 and 2018, maybe.
UConn, they won in 2014 and 2011, and also 2004. Those are the last.
They won it 2 years ago, also, didn't they?
I wasn't going to count those, but so 1999.
Seed.
So it's one of those years you're talking about, Mark.
What'd you say, Mark? Number 7 seed?
They were a number 7 seed, UConn.
When they won the tournament.
Yes.
So that must have been. Is that the 1999 season?
That's the 2014.
The 2014 season.
Yeah, that's why I thought that number 4 seed or higher was more recent than that, 1997. So I guess that was 2014 that they won as a 7 seed.
And I believe they were a surprise when they won the Big East that year as well.
Yeah.
So they won, in essence, they won the 6 games in a row.
I think Calhoun was the coach then.
Jim Calhoun, right.
Yeah.
Yep. So you think this year's Final Four, Andy, will be chalky or not, like it was last year, or you think there's room for?
Like I say, I don't know what the number will be. If you're playing, because they always have a proposition. How many number 1 seeds will make the Final Four? 0, 0, 1, 2, or 3. Usually they'll. I don't think they may price it as over 0, over 1 and over a half, over a half, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. I would think that if they do it on just the number as opposed to over under, that 3 would be the most the significant favorite. That 3 out of the 4 will make it.
So 3 out of the 4, you put minus a minus favorite price on that.
3 would, I think, 3 would be the minus price.
Yes.
4 would be probably a plus, and it probably won't be as high as it should be because of what happened last year. And I think that 2 would be maybe a very small underdog. 0 would be a huge underdog, and 1 would be a mid-range underdog. So yeah, I think 3 out of 4, the 3 out of the 4 making it would be a solid favorite.
So since 1985, UConn, Kansas in 88 as a 6 seed, Villanova in 85 as an 8 seed.
Yeah,
Those are
that
the
was
only 3 since 85 that have won if you were not a top 4 seed.
So would that include UConn in 2014? Did you mention that
Yeah.
one?
So
Okay.
Kansas,
3.
UConn, and Villanova. 88, 85, and 2014.
Yeah, Kansas was, I think, the Danny and the Juniors. Was that like 89 or 88?
88.
Yeah.
So just 3 in, what is that? 40 years.
Almost 40 years. Yeah. 40 years, because they didn't have 2020, the COVID year. So 85 to 25 would be normally 41. Without the COVID, it's 40. Yeah.
One thing about Kansas, you mentioned them. I tripped onto this morning and put this little note in here for the show. They're a number 3 seed. The lowest they've ever been in the Big 12 conference tournament is a number 3 seed, and it's only been 2 times that it's happened. So they are right now in amongst where some of the worst or not so great Kansas teams were in the past. Andy, do they have a shot to win this Big 12 tournament?
A shot, yes, but I'm not sold on this Kansas team, and I really haven't been all season, comparing it to previous Kansas teams. If I'm going to pick the winner of the Big 12, I think the Big 12 championship game will be a rematch of Houston and Arizona. Played that game that was the weekend of the Duke-Michigan game, and Arizona-Duke, and Arizona came in and did a number on Houston. I think Houston wins, and I think if there's a sleeper, and they're playing right now, and I think let me see what the score is at halftime in that game. Iowa State. Well, I was going to say Texas Tech, but Iowa State's blown it open now. 12 minutes to go. 53-39. So that was going to be my sleeper. They're still alive, but I think they're going to be sleeping in about another 8 minutes of playing time unless they come back. But that was going to be my sleeper in that conference. If I had to choose a different one, I don't know that would be Kansas, but there's really I really don't see a sleeper in that tournament. I think it's Arizona and Houston, and I guess I don't know if you could call Kansas a sleeper, especially playing in Kansas City, but I would have gone with Texas Tech.
Hey, Greg, Trend Trackers asked a question here, and I'm going to run this at you. He wants to know our thoughts on whether the NIL or the transfer portal has contributed to number 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds, accounting for 12 of the Sweet 16 teams in the last 2 years. Do you think it's
Both.
the transfer portal
Both.
and the NIL? Both?
If the question is, has the NIL and the transfer portal contributed to
the top
teams,
4 seeds accounting for 12 of this?
Yeah, I mean, that seems like too easy of an answer.
Yeah, it seems almost apparent, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Let's rephrase the question for you, Greg. Which do you think has had the greater influence, the NIL or the portal transfer? Because I would say it's almost 50-50 because there's some relationship there.
Because it's very similar. But I'd probably go with the portal just because it's just so nutty. But yeah, it's kind of, because really, if you think about it, the NIL came out first in a way, because the portal, like the rampant portal stuff, really hasn't happened until the last couple of years.
Right, and the NCAA had to make the change to
allow transfers. Immediately, yes.
Great
so that's
increase
why,
in the transfers. Yep. As opposed to the NIL, where it's just, and the NIL is a bidding war as to how much you're going to pay to your, let's say, your key players, and the portal transfers is how many you are unlimited in the number of key players that you can put on your roster.
Yep. So definitely transfer portal. It's made things crazy, but that's life. Again, all you have to do is just look at every team. I mean, Michigan's the great example. I mean, the top 4 players are all transfer guys. Take them all out, and they'd be at the bottom of the Big Ten. So that's the way it is, and probably all of them might be gone next year. So off to the NBA.
This Fab 5 2.0.
Unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to see that again.
No.
Just don't think that'll happen
again. I mean,
the
NCAA has to do something to. And we've talked about it before. I forget what show I did yesterday, but I said what they should do is and I think it's probably more in football than in basketball, but it could apply to basketball too. And that is, if you're allowed one free transfer, but if you want to transfer, let's say you transfer out after your freshman year. Okay, so you go from school A to school B. So now you're a sophomore at school B. If you then, after your sophomore year, you transfer, there are two options. Either you have to sit out a year and it doesn't count against your eligibility, or you now lose that extra year of eligibility, so that you go from being a sophomore to a senior, effectively. And I think that might stem stem the number of kids who transfer out, because they may not want to lose that year of eligibility.
Okay, guys, we're going to wrap it up here because we're coming back, and I want to remind everybody that Monday, mark it down, Proline TV doing a live March Madness podcast, 8 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday, Proline TV, Jim Feist doing his handicapping show, of which he'll, I'm sure, burrow down deep into the NCAA tournament, probably have a guest or two on there as well. So mark those 2 times and those 2 shows down, if you will. Any closing thoughts, guys, before we wrap it up here?
I'll give you one. We've gone an entire show and have not once until now mentioned the words NFL free agency.
Oh, and we could have probably done a show on that, Andy.
Yes.
Well, that'll be coming up.
And we can do that show in 3 weeks.
Yes, we can. Yes.
After we have on the preview of the eve of the Masters.
Well, wouldn't that then be official on those free agencies signings? Because I think, they've done deals with them, but they can't.
Well, everything I think was based on yesterday, Wednesday at I think 1 p.m. Eastern time. That was the official. I think Guy Lombardo and the band were playing Auld Lang Syne, because I think that marked the beginning of the new NFL year, when the trades could be officially concluded, when teams had to release players or were able to release players on that time, and they would be able to negotiate with the other teams. Although they call that Monday and Tuesday legal tampering. That's why we get a lot of these starts out, but they can't be official, which is, again, the thing with the Max Crosby Raven thing, is because it was not official, because the new league year and the trades could not be official until Wednesday. And the thing that I wonder, and I don't know, I've not heard all that much as to why the Ravens backed out of that trade. They said it was a medical issue with Crosby that the doctors were uncomfortable about. I want to think, considering the timing of it, is that the Ravens said, you know what? We just gave up a number 1 this year and a number 1 next year, which is like unprecedented for the Ravens. Trey Hendrickson was still available Tuesday night.
Yeah, without
Monday night, I guess.
Anything, right.
And I wonder if Baltimore said, let's see if we can negotiate with Hendrickson for the only reason, so you didn't have to give anything up, and then by exiting the trade with the Raiders, they got those 2 number 1 choices back.
Yeah, the only reason that I don't think they would do that is because if they were actually caught, they'd be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So they'd have to have proof. Take a look at his knee. You could see what I'm talking about. And there's been, you've seen the reports that this isn't the first time that the organization has nixed one of these deals before.
Yeah.
So
you think the team doctors are going to be under scrutiny and have to show what they've
absolutely
done?
You can't just go, oh yeah, we trust him. He says no, so hey,
right,
show us the film. Let's talk to the doctor. If somebody says there's something suspicious, then the doctor's going to have to be we got to bring him in, get his proof, because you'll lose draft picks and stuff like that if you get caught screwing around with the league.
Could Roger Goodell turn this whole thing back around when they find that his knee is okay, and then say that trade is back on and it's official? Max Crosby, a Raven?
No, because it's not. I get why every doctor's different. There is no. It's not like you're going to the NFL doctor. Every single doctor's different, which is probably why the Ravens organization has done this 3 or 4 times, because maybe they have tighter rules when it comes to what the doctors.
It came down to, I think, if Max Crosby had gone to all 31 other team doctors, there might have been 17 who took the opinion that Baltimore did, and 14 who said no. That's not the same kind of concern. It was a question of, just to make it simple, along the lines of, well, we see they just had the surgery, and Our prognosis is it's closer to 6 months than 6 weeks that he'll be able to resume activities. Other doctors might have said, no, we think that's, let's say 8 weeks is a little bit more realistic and that he'll be fine for the start of the season. And that's opinion because there's no way of knowing because everybody heals differently. Just take a look at what they're saying about Patrick Mahomes and how far ahead of schedule he's reported to be as far as they're talking now about him being totally ready for a training camp after that ACL, MCL.
He may be one of those exceptions as an athlete
Yeah.
too, Andy. Right.
Yeah, that's like
no.
when
I'm saying that we don't know how every individual player heals.
and that's exactly why they have the rule where they say until the trade does not go through until the doctor passes the physical. And so that's the reason why it's 95% of the time that's okay. It goes through, but there are exceptions. So,
and again, it's an opinion. And so there's no right or wrong because you're just going in on an opinion that is a reasonable opinion. And doctors can very often do disagree about the severity of an injury, the healing time, etc. I hate being suspicious about it, but you did mention, Greg, that the Baltimore's been there before. They had remorse over trading 2 number 1 draft choices.
Well, guys, we didn't mention any football until we closed out and talked about football.
Oh boy, we have a whole lot more to do.
Yes, we sure do. But remember, guys, we're going to come back Monday, 8 p.m. live for our Proline TV NCAA Tournament Primer Show. Tuesday, Jim Feist, 8 p.m. here on Proline TV for the Jim Feist Handicapping Show. Mark those down. And then we'll be back next Wednesday for the ATS podcast. We're going to move it up one day early in advance of the Thursday tip-off game. So
same time, right?
Same time Thursday or Wednesday, same time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. So 3 days in a row, basketball, hoops, and basketball. So mark those down. And I'm going to get out of here, guys. I'm going to thank you. I'll be visiting with you guys Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. For Greg DePalma from Prime Sports Network, Andy Iskoe from TheLogicalApproach.com in Vegas, our good buddy Jim Feist, the legend himself, also in Vegas. Until Monday, this is Marc Lawrence reminding you to always remember to bet with your head, not over it, and good luck as always.